Call the North Plains Planning Commission for March the 11th to order at 6 o'clock. Could you please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I please get the roll call?
Thank you. Chair King,
Here.
Vice Chair Labonte. Here. Commissioner House,
Here.
Commissioner Canodell,
Here.
Commissioner Para,
Here.
Commissioner Nennekamp.
Here.
I have not heard from Commissioner Miller. Did you?
I have not heard.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for him. Your ex officio, Mayor Aaron Dumbrow, I am not sure why he's not here, but I will keep an eye open for him too. He mentioned it when he was talking last week, so.
Right. Well, I'm excused until we approve of it.
Correct.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda, since there's no item numbers on the agenda, we'll go to public comments.
I use the same now.
This time is available for anyone in the audience or on the Zoom for any comments of planning commission business that are not on the agenda. Let the record show there's no one in the audience. Is there anyone on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
All right, thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes for February the 11th, 2026. Are there any corrections, changes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the planning commission meeting minutes on February 11th as they were written.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Nennekamp and second by Commissioner Parra for approval of the February 11th, 2026 minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The minutes are approved as presented. Move on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business?
No unfinished business from staff.
Okay. We will move on then to new business. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. We will be discussing tonight the Planning Commission's role as the city's committee for citizen involvement. And that is laid out under our comprehensive plan as required by Oregon Land Use State Planning Goals. This is a topic which we have not necessarily highlighted in the past few years for the Planning Commission, but is really important to all of your service as planning commissioners. So as we come up, the fiscal year will be turning over in July. So we have a few months to work on any programmatic updates, reports, and changing our approach to certain things if you all would be interested. So I wanted to start the conversation here with a little bit of a refresher on what Committee for Citizen Involvement is, both at the county and the city level, and what some of the improvements that we could make would be. Go. So background, the Committee for Citizen Involvement is a significant branch of the public engagement that is required under our statewide planning goals. And it is primarily to provide residents with opportunities to be involved in the land use process through different pathways. Traditionally, the land use system was established in the 70s. This would look like public hearings and different engagement opportunities where maybe city staff went out into the community. Nowadays, we have a lot more options. We have online surveys, social media, still public hearings are a major avenue, but we also have a lot more tools at our disposal. And why now? As I mentioned briefly, a lot of departmental updates are conducted in line with the fiscal year happening in July. And so it's a great time for us to start thinking about what sorts of changes might need to be made or reports might need to be drafted. This is a great time to start doing that. So a little refresher on state planning goal 1, which calls for the opportunity for citizens to be involved in all phases of the planning process. And this is then broken down by the state into several sort of subcategories here. Ability for public to be involved, feedback mechanisms, the making of technical information easy to understand, so communication of these complex land use topics to the general public, opportunities for widespread, not just individualized involvement, financial support for public involvement, and two-way communication. So making sure that we are not just preaching at the public, but really allowing them to be involved in changing how the land use processes work. So here we have a little bit of the county perspective. We're located here in Washington County, and the county has been very engaged with the concept of public engagement and the CCI program for a long time. Historically, they've operated these community participation organizations, or CPOs, to engage members of the rural population throughout the county. There's been 17 of these CPOs historically, and from those CPOs, they would have representatives on their CCI. That looks a little bit different than here in the city, where you all as planning commissioners also serve as the CCI. Moving forward, the county is looking to consolidate that program down to 1 CPO per district, and then move to a program that looks more like the city, where the planning commission is also the CCI. And as part of that process, the county has been reaching out to cities like North Plains, Banks, Beaverton, Hillsborough, everyone to get a read on how the cities have been doing their CCI, which is essentially what prompted us to take another look at what we could be doing better. So CCI in North Plains, laid out in our comprehensive plan, is the opportunity for active participation by residents and landowners in preparation of a community's comprehensive plan. It's not just mandated by state law, the only realistic means of assuring that communities' planning efforts be worthwhile and meaningful endeavors. And we have 2 key policies in our comprehensive plan, which is that citizen involvement program be directed by the planning commission, you all, sitting as the CCI, and that the planning commission shall evaluate the citizen involvement program and process annually and report back to city council. So with looking at our comprehensive plan and looking at what we're currently doing, staff has identified 4 opportunities for improvement. One big one that is really centered on the planning commission as the CCI is preparing to give the annual report to city council, likely sometime in the summer. And then 3 ones that staff are interested in is adding a planning summary to the monthly newsletter, so making the planning work that the city does a little more visible. Exploring better translation and accessibility in our planning materials, and adding a interactive planning archive to the city webpage. So those are 3 things that are easy to find in the comprehensive plan that we maybe aren't doing right now, or aren't doing to the extent that we could, that we would be able to easily upgrade. And so with that, I would love to hear your guys' opinions on anything you think could be done to improve citizen involvement, how staff could improve citizen involvement, and then as we go forward in the next couple months, thinking about annual reporting about citizen involvement, if there's anything that staff could help you with to get that message across about what you all do as far as public involvement. But ultimately, this is y'all's body and responsibility to the people that appointed you and the residents that you represent, making sure that they feel heard in the planning process.
I have one question right off. It's, the CPOs, thought the county was talking about not combining, city jurisdictions with county jurisdictions. And you're talking about with one per district, so.
So it's still, the CPOs will just be representing the rural residents, not the incorporated residents.
Right.
But they are now going to be going by district instead of the 17 sort of sub
Instead of
districts.
breaking them up into a bunch of smaller ones, which I thought was the whole purpose, because they all had their own individual
Yeah, that's-
concerns.
That's good.
That's why there was so many, and so now all of a sudden you're gonna jam them all together in large, or not you, of course, but county and their eminent wisdom are gonna jam them all together, and so that they have different concerns and the same CPOs.
Yeah, it's definitely been a hot topic at the county, and there's a lot of management and administration concerns.
But there is still the separation between city jurisdictions.
Absolutely.
That's
The
main-
big change here is that county community participation is actually going to look a lot more like city community participation. So, they're moving that CCI responsibility to planning commission, which is what almost all of the cities do. And they're consolidating those CPOs.
Yeah, I know in the past, the planning commission was a lot more active in the CCI. I'm sure it's probably 15 years ago or something like that, under different management, and, so I recognize that we are the planning commission and the CCI is our function, and obviously we would be looking to, staff for recommendations on annual reports and monthly reports. I mean, you know, we get these updates here, and I'm assuming some of that stuff can go in the monthly report. Are they talking about doing something just on website, or are they talking about newsletter, or are they talking about multiple avenues for reporting?
Yeah, we're looking at expanding to multiple avenues. The website has been an ongoing, updating project for staff. But the newsletter is something we want to branch into, where we haven't historically used that as a way to spread planning information. So I'll be working with Lori to figure out what we can do, if we can have a little corner,
A
or.
lot of people waiting to find out what we're doing.
I know, we,
Yeah,
that's part of the battle with civic engagement for all of our meetings, is that folks oftentimes don't show up unless there's something exciting on the agenda.
Controversial.
that's the
So,
word.
but that's something that I'd love to see this body work on, brainstorming ideas for how to get people more civically engaged in these planning processes, even if there isn't something exciting on the agenda.
So
Yes.
I have one on this particular question of civic engagement. And I won't take credit for this because this came from constituents telling me you should do this. And the proposition sort of goes like this. I don't have time nor the energy to come to every single meeting and give input. I would love to do that, I just can't. But what I would like to do is give input. And the best way to give me an opportunity to give input is, as needed, ask me a question, simple, that I can answer on my phone for input. Which means, let me get on a text, a city-run text message that I can be confident that there's one per household allowed in the town. And when you need input from the planning commission, from the city council, from any, you generate a very simple question and they answer that question and they're done. They would feel 100% more engaged, and it wouldn't take them more than a minute or two to answer those simple questions. So, and when I talked to the mayor about that, he said, I don't see why we can't do that. This was a couple months ago, but that was an idea that came from constituents, is don't make me come to these meetings. This is 1970. Right? I understand you have to have them, but also give me an avenue to give you input really quick and really easy. And texting was their choice.
Thank you,
That's,
Commissioner.
that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I had a lot of constituents silently tell me that they didn't want, they wanted me to just take care of it. You know, don't bother them, you know, just do your job, and because that's what you're here for, so I'm good with that, really. But I do agree that, yeah, we need to have a better presence. And I think we need to look at avenues to try to get people involved one way or another. I mean, I don't expect them to come here. It's boring, you know, I hardly come here. But
And there needs to be a link on the website that for planning commission questions.
So
And then-
the
I think
input they
most
gave
of the-
me is
yeah,
it has
or
to
in
be
the
pushed.
newsletter, but
Well, and
submit
just
it.
so you know, we are in the works of pulling the newsletter out of the water bill, because a lot of people auto pay their water bill and they get the bill and just toss the whole thing without even looking at the newsletter. And so, we are looking at pulling it out, sending it to every household by mail itself. There has been talk of QR code questions, like in each month's newsletter, or, you know, and that could be how we get people's feedback. We've sent out questionnaires through electronically, and we don't get a lot of response, unfortunately, back, even though it's an easy way to do it.
Text messaging.
But we have not done text
This is
messaging,
the input I'm getting.
so.
Don't send me emails. Don't send me letters in the mail. If you want me to reply to something, send me a very simple text. I will reply.
I know how to get their attention, shut their water.
Yeah, there he goes.
They'll
We'll reply to a thing on my door
Yeah.
handle that says your water's being shut
You
off.
need to respond to this.
That I will respond to.
I think the Facebook updates are at least starting to inform people if they're on Facebook, but at least it's updating to where they can see behind them. I think that's helpful.
It is a subset of people, right? A subset of people use that medium. A subset of people use a different medium. Everyone uses their phone to.
Yeah,
100% use that medium.
Well, that's if they have smartphones.
99%.
Old people.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that the city doesn't want to get, and probably the North Plains Living doesn't want to be involved with the city, but obviously if somebody's doing a publication, it would be nice if there was information.
they haven't asked.
No, I know, and I don't think they're going,
No, I'm
because
sure.
they've already stated they're not part of the chamber and they're not part of the
Yeah,
city,
um,
so I think they
and
want to be independent.
We're pretty sure they don't want, so,
But it's a nice magazine and it
It
probably
is.
costs a lot of money. And
yeah, it
they
is.
don't have those last.
It
That's my
is. But can it, I mean, is it enough to just be one question in via text? I mean, we have lots of questions when planning things come up.
But it's.
It is not a single, it is, like, it is just as simple to say, here's a link to a form. There's 4 questions. Choose these radio buttons, I'm done. It doesn't have to be one, right?
Okay.
It's a link to a Google form, you get the data back automatically in Excel. And the text goes out automatically, it is. Very
You
painless
ask
for
for
people.
one every month, and if they do all
There you
4, they get to go into a drawing.
Yeah.
There's,
Awesome.
no, and we're not against that either.
Prizes.
We are not against that either.
Awesome.
That's-
Yeah.
If that is what it takes.
Free entry to bingo.
Under
Yeah,
the hot
but
seat.
there's a good point that the Google Doc things were great when you have an event, you send that Google survey report quick. on phones too.
And then go in
They're
there.
able- It's like that quick.
One of the letters, one-
4 questions, 5 questions.
letter number each. one.
Okay,
So what I'm hearing is a lot of less barriers, more easy clicks.
Yeah, well, that, you have to make it simple.
And by the way, I'm not opposed to the water bill also. There will be some people that will use that.
Like, did you know questions?
yeah,
The other thing I have always thought should be more present was, you were talking about, the website presence of, past planning projects and things. I mean, I'm gonna go back and try to find out what happened here or there, and they only go
Well,
back
and
so far.
before we switched to this website, we did have some of the older stuff on there, just like we had all of our ordinances and all of our resolutions on there. And when we transferred over, they would only do 3 years history, so ordinance ordinances older than 2022 are not even on the website, and we don't have staff
Yeah.
time to go put them on. I mean, and that's something that should be on there. I've actually got a public records request.
Because they
Hey,
still
I need
exist.
ordinance, whatever, and it's not on your website, and it absolutely should be.
Yes, it should be.
So, we are fully aware of historical planning projects should be on there. Ordinances should all be on there. Revolution should all be on there.
Yeah.
We just need to work a way to
There is,
make it happen.
unfortunately, no way to get those documents on there other than a lot of hours of staff time going through files, uploading files, formatting files,
You
and
should-
publishing
you
them.
should see
And
if the
it's,
city council has some money for that.
So, interns of the summer.
We
so,
have talked
You
about
need to
that.
Request it, right?
We have.
We do that at my company,
Yeah.
hire high schoolers in the summer.
Or even library help, but the library's not busy, you have one help.
Yeah, 'cause those are all good documents.
I've had 5 emails asking what's going on down here with clearing the property. And nobody knows what's going on there either, so,
Clearly says it on the front page of the newsletter this month.
but
Yeah.
that's the only thing, if you don't have a newsletter,
Yeah,
nobody knows, so.
yeah.
Nobody even knew the city, 4 of them didn't even know the city owned the property and anything was going on down there, so.
The people in the bank didn't know. They live across the street.
Right, that's one of the people that actually got asked what time to give.
We need a reader board.
There was a past counselor that was hell bent on getting one of those, but they are so expensive,
Right.
so
Yeah.
expensive to run.
yeah.
Well, it's hard to keep changing those banners.
That's true, that's true.
Yep.
Maybe we could, the bank has one out in front of maybe they could, run our news for us.
As long as it's not flashing or spinning.
They're not. that
Because that's a
expensive
distraction,
anymore.
right?
Yeah, then it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Well, that sign frame is still up over there, it's a big ol' poster board up there, it says city owned property coming soon.
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
abandoned?
abandoned sign has been there for decades.
It hasn't been
On the
removed.
city property?
Yes.
It hasn't been
Yeah.
removed. Or the abandoned buildings that are still there.
Is it a sign if it's just a frame?
It's a sign frame. It's still abandoned, yeah. Was there anything else?
Nothing else from staff.
Any other comments on the CCI? So the next agenda item is the land use applications and the city project report. Monthly report, any questions, comments on those? Okay,
My only question is does the city know what kind of restaurant that the Hung Da Dough House is?
It's
Inquiring minds
Asian
may know.
dough
Like,
It's dumplings.
dumplings, Asian dumplings.
And noodles, I think.
I think they have another place.
I think so, too.
somewhere, in Beaverton or
I
something.
tried to look them up, but they weren't registered with the Secretary of State.
Yeah, they don't, we haven't heard anything. I mean, they have a business license with us, but that's all we've heard
Under that name.
under the something dough house.
Yes, Hong Da Dough House.
There you go. Yeah.
Say
So,
so.
Hong Da Dough House. Nothing's popping up on Google for them quite yet, but
Yeah, like I said, they're not even registered with the Secretary of State. You give them a business license.
Yeah, it wasn't, I don't think it was them that contacted me. I think it was like their developer or something. And so I looked him up. And it's legit. So, but no time frame of it, we have nothing else.
Okay.
Right now.
there's no other questions or comments on those. We will move on to planning commission comments. One of the items A is the UGB PAC meeting update. There has not been another meeting, so there's no update.
Right.
I'm not even sure if it's scheduled yet. I haven't heard anything.
the project team is working on a schedule adjustment, so expecting news in the next 2 weeks.
And, over through some emails on with, Commissioner Labonte and yourself, there was some questions about, public records. If, are the documents that we have, if we take notes on, are those subject to public records laws? And the statement that they should be turned into the recorder after meetings. And I was hoping Bill was here to talk about this.
Yes, we have never asked for planning commission documents or work notes or anything. I don't know why, it wasn't, they didn't ask when I started, and so it just stayed the same. Counselors have to turn theirs in to me. When they fill up a notepad, turn it into me and I give them another one. We did have some problems last year with one person who said that they were unaware that that was the case, and after they left office, they destroyed them according to what she said. So we are bringing it up again.
I wonder who she was.
Just making sure that you all know, I mean, I'm not overly worried about any of you. A lot of you don't take notes. Heather takes lots of notes and she keeps them. I've seen her bring a binder in this big. So if someone did come to me and ask for something, I would come to you guys and would hope that you had them in your possession as required by public records law, but some of you maybe weren't aware of that, so. Cause it's never come up since I've been working here.
I'm pretty sure none of us were aware of it.
Okay.
Because we assumed it was for elected officials.
It's for all city meetings.
Okay, so it's just strictly what happens from gavel to gavel.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna ask you to turn them in.
Well, I'm gonna turn them in. You can have.
I'm gonna find room for them, that's why I haven't asked for them.
Record them.
That's why I haven't asked.
Personal notes.
That you've done.
But it's a public meeting.
Yeah.
It's a
So
public meeting.
then that gets to the point where some people are bringing in their personal computers. And
Correct.
So if they're doing anything on them, then they should really turn your computers into you.
Well, and
So
I
then,
mean, it goes that way for cell phones too. I mean,
If they're
But
using their cell.
if they're
phone.
using their cell phones. That's why I've never asked for anything.
Okay,
Two reasons. One, because nobody's ever done a public records request for planning commission stuff.
yeah,
That doesn't mean it's not gonna happen now that we've put it out there in the universe and the way things have gone the last 2 years. It could certainly
well,
happen.
I understand this is, but then in the last 3 years, that it's now requirement where it wasn't before. I mean, this is what somebody else told me. Is that, do we know if that's
It's
correct?
always been a state ORS
Oh, okay.
about notes taken during public
Do you
meetings.
want my 31 years? of-
I really don't.
Well, I was gonna ask, what's the retention on them then? Is it?
That I'm not sure of. I'll have to look because honestly,
If I
the-
keep my notes up here, I'm not turning them in.
that's right. See, then you're safe. I'm
But
not
the
sure what
retention's
retention
bad.
is because I've never been asked for them until the last 2 years. Actually, since last January till now, that's the only time I've been asked for them. And the ones that they wanted, I did not have because I was told they were destroyed.
So,
Which is a big no-no, but.
Right. so
Nothing.
moving on to the next step then, so this is. Okay, so we're just talking public records, because my concern now is emailing.
Well, we always prefer that you don't email all. I think we've talked about that a few
Right,
times
no,
because that is a public meetings law.
Right.
About having,
But
a quorum.
the city is sending me emails to my business email, and I'm not sure if that's the right thing to be doing. Because my business has nothing to do with planning commission. So
We-
I'm surprised that the city doesn't give me an email address so they could use it just for planning commission.
Well, we can talk about that. Right now.
Well,
the
it
only-
would been nice if our city manager or our mayor were here,
Yeah, the city manager's dealing with
Oh.
city legal issues right now. So the city council are the only ones that have a city provided email address. No other boards or commissions do. If
Right.
that's a discussion that we need to have, then that's a.
Well, I'm just concerned that if, you know, if it's just public record for the meetings, public meetings, then nobody's sending me an email. You got, hopefully you're not sending me an email right now. You know, and that, I'm not sending an email, so then it's outside of that. But I don't want my either my personal or my business email to be convoluted in public records law.
Just to be clear, anything that you email staff or that staff emails you is automatically public record
Right.
because
Right.
it's city staff communications.
Right.
So,
No, I don't have a
That's-
problem
so,
with that
yeah,
because I'm
that's
doing that, but the thing
automatic,
is, I don't
right.
want my emails,
So,
my business emails available for public record.
well, and the only time that would happen, and it could, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, would be if they thought that more than 3 of you were talking via email amongst yourself, which is a quorum and against public meeting laws according to state ORS. So if somebody said, I think these guys are emailing each other, and if there's 4 of them doing it, then we would do a public records request. I mean, they could do a public records request asking for all emails between whoever they think is doing this. And ideally, we'd be able to pull up only those where the 4 people are emailing back
Where do
and
you
forth,
have, their addresses are all.
Yes.
linked together.
as long as we're provided that.
So if we do
Um,
3.5, it's okay.
Pushing the limit a little bit, but yeah,
Then I do think that we all need to have city emails in, because
Yeah.
if that's the case, then that is pulling, then you're gonna ask me for all of my emails to find out whether or not.
Yeah,
You get into my personal email.
Right.
You don't wanna get into your business
Right.
email.
exactly. And we don't want to do that either. Believe me, that's not
So I
what we
don't
want to
want
do
that to
either.
happen in the
We want to,
future. So,
we would like a line between city business and your personal business and your personal life.
Yeah, for instance, Commissioner Levante, there was an issue sending it to her Washington County email address, and that's a no-no because Washington County doesn't like that.
Yeah,
You know, so me, I can make the decision because I'm the boss, but if it comes down to that, I
Right.
don't want. that
well,
to
and
be
there could be other, you know, if we've got somebody else that we're
Everybody should have their
emailing
own
at their work
privacy,
email
yeah.
address.
Yeah.
They could say, you shouldn't be conducting city business on work time.
Right.
Use your personal email address. So it's a learning process because it's gotten to be such a major ordeal, and not just for us. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
lots of cities are going through it. Most cities are going through it actually. So, Rowan and I will both talk to Bill about, seeing about getting you guys email addresses. We have a new IT company, that's going to be huge improvement over what we've had the last 1.5 years. So it may be easy and may not be expensive. Through the other one, we had to pay for each city email address, I believe, that we had. Yeah, there was money
Yeah,
attached to it.
Seemed like it was, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so,
they only allow so much, and then after that, you had people
Right.
to pay. And then, that's what I'm saying, is everybody using their personal equipment probably shouldn't be using their personal equipment here either.
yeah,
So then the city should supply everybody with laptops or iPads or whatever,
which we do for city
Which-
council.
which I do have, still have mine.
Do you still have, yeah, we used to do that, but then we found out years back that most of the planning commissioners weren't using them, what we had provided.
Right.
So why were we gonna spend that much money to provide them if they weren't gonna use
Right,
them?
right.
So, that's another bullet point to discuss. Now, what we did with EDC they wanted to send out a
Oh, sure, now he shows.
What's, they were sending out a, survey. But they didn't want to use their personal email addresses either, so we created one EDC@City North. And then when we get those, then we can disperse them out to the members, but so far, that's the only one we've done that for.
And that's the other thing, I gotta go through my personal email to get into the agenda in the first place. We used to go through some other server to get into the agenda for the meeting.
Yeah, we don't
We
do
don't
that anymore,
anymore, so-
because you can go right on the city website and on the calendar and get it,
Well,
but
not very easy, it's a lot easier to do it this way, but.
yeah, so. We're talking about public records and how
Oh, yes.
notes that are taken during meetings need to be kept as public records, and there's concerns that. All the city emails are going to their personal or business email addresses, so if someone asks for a public records request. It's putting their personal and or work email address into the mix.
Correct. Chair, my apologies. City Public Information Officer duties contained me. Correct. So if you are, there is nothing wrong with utilizing personal email address for communication on city business. Just be aware that, like Lori said, if there is a public records request for city business conducted by planning commission member, that may include a personal an email that was sent on your personal account. So that would be part of the public records request.
So they were asking, can we look into getting them each a city email address? Now, and I said, we have new tech, we have a new IT company, I don't know what their policies are for that.
Well, I think the biggest thing too is to understand the retention periods. I mean, so at work, I have a very structured, how many years do I have to keep all my emails?
Right.
You know, depending on what they are.
And we're going through that process right now because we're transferring to ORMS, their records management system. And so we're in the process of learning how to set our folders up, our email folders on how long certain things need to be kept, records and all that stuff. So that is in the works as well, because we
Like
don't have
right
enough
now,
other things.
I literally have a city folder and a couple subfolders within that city folder, and I go back like quite far, but it shouldn't all be.
Right, and if you keep, no matter how long you keep it, if the city file records retention is 5 years and you've got stuff from 10 years ago and someone asks for it, you have to provide it because you have still kept it. If you get rid of it after 5 years, then you can say, oh, I kept it the retention and I'm good. So you do want to get rid of things when you know the retention schedule's up, or you could be subject to turning over everything from 31
See,
years.
that's the problem with the personal, that I'm gonna bring in my directories.
Yeah, so. I
I'm
have.
gonna go purge my files right now.
I guess the answer for me would be, we would need to check into, what's seeming, we would need to check into the wisdom of and policies about individual city email addresses for volunteer board members, because we don't have that. So we can look into that.
Because I don't want somebody going through my personal business emails to go searching for some emails that they're looking for.
Well, so to be clear, if a public records request comes in, and says, I'm interested in emails. I'm interested in emails discussing city planning commission business by planning commissioner Knodel. On including in private emails. Lori would get that request and then would notify you, review your emails, and if you have any that meet that condition, you need to send them to Lori. Nobody gets to access your account, nobody
Ideally,
searches
yeah.
for you.
We hope
Burden
that,
is on us to review.
yes, ideally, we would hope that everyone would be honest enough to go through their own emails and forward whatever they have to us. I have no
There's no obligation on us
qualms about you guys doing that.
to open access to anyone for printing.
That's correct, unless there's a subpoena. But then that would happen if there's, if something gets to the point of there being a subpoena over something. Then I think your private email account is the least of your worries. I mean, really.
Yeah.
But if we get a public records request. You know, in that example, you're notified and it is upon you to identify which emails comply or consistent with that request. But it's on you to go through and look and
Yes.
provide.
Even if you have, for all your email addresses, if you use more than one if you get all of our city stuff through one, but you guys email each other through another, by law, it should include your other email that city isn't necessarily see. But we trust that people.
But it's self-reported.
For even elected officials.
Same thing. If we have gotten public records requests where the request is for city business discussed, including in private emails by a city councilor. That city councilor was notified, or city councilors have been notified, there's a request for city business emails, private emails with city business discussed. Those need to be turned over for this, whatever the time period requested is. And it is upon the city councilor to return the emails they found to be consistent with that request. Did we get all of the emails completely and in whole? I don't know. Were some emails deleted that shouldn't have been because they were public records? Perhaps. But it is on the person to turn over what private emails are compliant with the request.
I don't have any. I'm guaranteed.
And of course, then
Especially when I get back to the office.
it came up with, notes we've taken during meetings. And Chair King proudly announced that he'd be happy to bring all of his in for the last 31 years and put them on my desk. And Vice Chair Labonte probably has just as much, even though she hasn't been as on the board quite as long as he has, so.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I mean, the thing is about having city email addresses is if there are issues that you feel are sensitive, you would city email address, you defer to your private email address anyway, and you're still subject to a request that's self-reporting. If that makes sense.
Perfect. Any questions of those comments?
Is this documented somewhere? Or is this just, I mean, cause this could change tomorrow.
This is state law.
State law,
State law?
state of Oregon.
Good. So any other planning commission comments? Nope. Huh? Okay, we'll move on to city council comment. Mayor Dunbar?
I sent him a text and he said, I didn't know it was supposed to be my turn, it's right, the
Okay.
ex officio. So then I emailed it to him and I still.
Not feel it was love.
I saw it on the list. I knew it was.
I do have a question.
I already moved on.
Sorry. And maybe it's in our code, but is there something about abandoned, structures in our code?
I haven't
I mean,
heard abandoned structure.
And you've got a lot of structures that are boarded up and stuff in the cities that, how long can they sit there like?
Oh,
that?
you mean like the subway?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
And like the blue house down the corner, I mean, those have been, I mean, the subway's only been boarded up for a year, maybe two, but.
Only if they create a nuisance,
But
a hazard or a
it
nuisance.
attracts a lot of vermin.
But they are, they look awful.
They're.
Well,
So,
we've had to contact them to keep up with mowing the,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a requirement because of noxious weeds
Yes.
during April to September,
September.
whatever.
Yeah, it really only becomes an issue when you have demonstrated vermin issues, if you have homeless people or activity, people trying to get into the building. Blight, not pretty buildings, in and of themselves aren't a problem. It's when they become a public safety, active public safety issue. Rowan, you can go ahead if you want.
Yeah, so looking through our code, we do not have a chapter or subchapter specifically dedicated to abandoned structures. We address significantly abandoned vehicles and personal property. So most likely what our regulating ordinances are going to be is under health and sanitation nuisances or general nuisances. Of which we have several that would apply. Our building nuisances would apply. Things like attractive nuisances might apply. There's kind of a number of things which would, you know, when we look at the conditions of an abandoned structure, your noxious vegetation, probably a fence code violation, attractive nuisance, vermin,
Personal property counts.
so there's a lot that would go into that could be addressed.
The city owns all the abandoned buildings.
Not the
No.
subway one, and not the blue one on the corner.
And personal property counts, because the building is personal property.
Across the street from the old
It-
city hall.
Depends on how we specifically
Yeah.
define personal property.
It's personal property.
We could add that into our code updates too, though, right?
So
Abandoned buildings.
Add to the list.
that is regulated outside of the land use code, so this is under, these kinds of things are under chapter 92. So absolutely could be addressed in a future code update, as we saw Chief had a work session with city council about a month ago. Addressing a lot of traffic code and other, you know, quality of life code updates. This is something I think would be really well addressed in that project, because we want to keep land use and non-land use code updates separate, because land use has to go through that extra laborious DLCD process. If we can keep things out of the land use process, that's better. It's shorter, it's cheaper. So if we could fit this into that project, I think that'd be a great area to look at it,
Thank you.
of course.
Okay. There are no other planning commission comments, we'll move on to staff comment.
Thank you, Chair. A few things. So I wanted to address, last month, I believe, maybe it was the month before, Commissioner Howe, you had mentioned concerns about the intersection at North Ave and Main Street. I did check in with the city engineer and confirmed that pavement striping is not required by law. And that he was checking to make sure that that intersection was built to standard. I haven't checked in with him again since he started looking into that. But our suspicion is that it was built to standard. And that is an upgraded safety intersection. So that's where engineering stands on that issue. And then coming up on Monday, it is expected that the chair or the vice chair will give an update to city council on planning commission activities. And that will be one of you, Chair King or Vice Chair Labonte, attending city council to communicate with the council your activities as planning commission.
We can
Otherwise,
schedule that for a future meeting, because I didn't put that on Monday's agenda.
oh,
Because
okay,
we hadn't discussed it, so
okay.
you can plan for it in one of the April meetings.
This is on top of the CCI stuff.
Correct.
But yeah, this is just a quarterly, they want all boards and city boards and commissions, either the chair or vice chair quarterly, to provide a report on what they have been doing.
I'll get staff on that.
And then I believe that is all at the moment. I briefly touched on the fact the UGB concept plan project team is doing a schedule adjustment, so we'll have more news on that in the coming weeks. And planning activities have generally been calm and steady over the last month. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Commissioner Howe? What, you have a comment on the main and north intersection?
Dude, just going down north, everywhere they have every street where they have the access to cross to go to the north for kids going to playgrounds. I'm not asking for a flashing light, I'm asking for white paint. But I was there 2 days ago and you walk up to the intersection, it's not a marked crosswalk. And here people come flying through and they're not doing 25 anyway. It's just a bad street because it's our main street going to the school or out of town. And I'm just afraid somebody's gonna get hurt on one of those streets. So I thought I'd bring it up.
Maybe something we can have public safety look into. I believe we've had the radar signs out there before, so it may need to go back on the rotation.
I wish we would have caught it when it was in design, you know. Maybe it's what it is. Can't catch everything.
Any other questions or comments on staff update? Hearing none. Okay, our next regular meeting will be April the 8th. Here at 6 o'clock. There was discussion, a question we were gonna ask or poll the plan commission on work sessions before the meeting. I assumed that there were some people that couldn't make it, but did we want to poll them before we adjourn?
Chair, if you would like to get consensus on whether before or after work sessions are preferred, staff would be happy to take that information down.
Is there any comments or concerns of having work sessions before or after meetings? I mean, some people have jobs,
Some have jobs.
regular jobs, something.
It's not have jobs.
Yeah, have jobs, some are retired.
Well, the only reason we're at 6 is because of our last city planner wanted us to go at 6. He used to start at 7. So we could afford it.
As city staff, all the other city boards and other than city council now start at 6. Library, EDC and parks all start at 6 as well. And it can be a by meeting choice too. I can always send out an email like I have recently. Polling, if you're able to do a work session before or after, but
That would be preferable, because if we have a heavy agenda, I wouldn't want to stay after too, for a work session.
Well, and I think that's adjustable as our schedule goes, but Commissioner Parra, are you available prior to 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Commissioner Howell? Yeah. Commissioner.
the one retired person on the board.
Commissioner Levante,
It's tentative. I would have to feel better closer.
so possibility, but not confirmed. And Commissioner Nunningham?
Yeah.
Commissioner Conadell?
Yeah.
Commissioner Miller?
Possible,
Same situation.
yeah, same situation.
Okay, so
Case by case.
yeah, case by case, I guess, but right now we'll stay with our original plan as we have it, meeting to 6 o'clock and then in workshop after, but I would think sending out a poll question prior to and then adjust accordingly.
Right.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to keep changing the start date for the regular meeting. I want to keep that at 6
Exactly.
o'clock if that's what.
And Commissioner Levante has it right. If it's a heavy agenda, you
But
may not want to have it after if you're getting done at 10 to 9.
I'm not.
So, okay, case by case.
Okay. So with that, if we have nothing else, no other business, like I said, our next meeting is April the 8th. Right here, 6 o'clock. We're adjourned at 6:55. So we will now move into our work session. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. So before you, you have an updated memorandum from 3J Consulting, wherein staff and Heather Austin, who has joined us online tonight, we've put together a updated memo that is reflective of our conversation last month, wherein you indicated an interest in a comprehensive project that was phased over several years. So you'll see in the updated memo, and I'm gonna let Heather explain this in much greater detail. I'm just gonna give you the roadmap. We've transferred this into, instead of sort of an option A, B, C, into phase 1, 2, and 3, but maintaining much of the same structure. And so with that, I'll let Heather add any additional details that you think are needed, and we will discuss.
Thanks, Rowan. Good evening. It's good to be with you all this evening. I noticed when pulling up this memo this evening that I did miss in the header the regarding portion that I'm still calling it 3 options, but what I really wanted to call it is 3 phases, because at the last meeting, what we heard is that the goal is to get all of the work done, all of the chapters have priority. The chapters that were listed were in priority order, but they all are needing update, and Planning Commission felt unanimously about that. The other thing I wanted to point out is that we tried to keep the phasing schedule just so that it was clear to council, who I think is the ultimate audience for this, that we can do this in phases. We can break some of it out as we go along and try to get grants for some of this work. But also, I think it was Commissioner Miller who pointed out last time that we have a list of things that we're not touching. So we call those low priority. So we mentioned that we're not going for everything here. There are things that we didn't identify as needing to be updated. So I did use the code committee's notes to be able to prioritize the sections of code that we'd like to get done, as well as probably starting with that legislative compliance that the city needs to do to be able to be compliant with state law. So I would propose, as if this were to move forward or be part of a package that's going to city council, we would change that header to have it be more reflective of 3 phases rather than 3 options, just considering this as a large project that we are breaking up into smaller chunks. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into further detail about anything specific if needed.
Go ahead, this workshop.
Yeah, I do have a question about your comment about the things that, sections that were not gonna be touched.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we found already sitting down and talking in our small group that, I mean, one leads into another, leads into another. Does that blow this whole phasing thing up then, or what does it do to,
No, so I think I hear what you're saying, and there might be that if we pull on the non-conforming uses, we have to make a change over to design review like earlier in the process or something like that. And I think those small changes to keep the code consistent with itself can come along as they go. What I meant was just there are sections of the code that we're not fully overhauling, like floodplain and some other sections that we're not taking as a whole rewrite, like we are the ones listed here.
and those sections have been identified that we're not going to touch?
I was under the impression that staff has a long list of sections that could use small updates, but that are not included. That maybe was part of a work session your group had a while back.
What I would recommend is, since we're talking about a low priority and not touching it, when we're talking about a comprehensive overhaul, we might want to know exactly what those low priorities are, because that box may be empty.
So include that in the intro, that the low priority code updates such as or including, and list the ones that we're not proposing.
Well, and that's what I just suggesting is that if we know what they are and we start working on code, all of a sudden we may need to pull them out of low priority and move them up.
So maybe what we actually need to do is just add a sentence that acknowledges that there could be need for other chapters to be looked at as we go through, and that would be sort of incidental to what work we're focused on.
Well, I just want to make it, from at least my position, is that I don't want to just identify them all and then say, oh, we're not going to touch these, because we may end up touching them.
Right.
Because
So
find reason that we have to from doing some other code and go, oh, well, now that relates back to this code.
yeah, so saying there are other chapters that are more of a low priority that we're not listing here, but that they could be updated, portions of them could be updated incidentally to these proposed changes.
Yeah, I don't want to say we're ignoring it, because we may not be able to.
Okay.
I think that was the spirit of my comment, which is identify low priorities, but don't say we'll never
Eliminate.
touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Got
say,
it.
hey, these are priority and we don't anticipate, but we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Levante?
Well, I have lots of questions only because I wasn't here last month, but, just in general, in this memo, Heather, you actually submitted, snippets of the, House and Senate bills that are really gonna influence some of our language in the code going forward.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on, Senate Bill 1537? Because I was struggling with this one a little bit when I was thinking forward as to some possible changes to certain sections. And the city must grant up to 10 distinct adjustments. So, I mean, is that like in general over all of them, or?
Yeah, so it's subject to residential only. So this wouldn't apply to any of your commercial or industrial or institutional applications. But if you have residential applications between now and 2032, you must grant these adjustments, and they can apply for up to 10 of these listed adjustments. And we did talk at the last meeting, because I wanted to make this a point. I had heard the concern about not having commercial space on the first floor in a mixed use building, and that is specifically listed here. So we have to allow an adjust, even if we have code language that says you must have commercial as the first floor of a mixed use in certain zones. We now have to say that non-residential uses like lobbies, daycares, gyms, other things that are incidental to the residential uses have to be considered commercial, where I heard specifically from this group that that's not what you want to see on your first floor. But we would be prohibited from precluding that if it fit within one of 10 adjustments the application was requesting.
I mean, I'm looking forward, this would completely change the look of our downtown, should we start having residential on the first floor. I mean, so much so that I'm almost wondering if we should update our C1 and take out mixed use out of it, just so we don't have apartments on the first floor or residential on the first floor.
That's definitely an option. The other thing to keep in mind is that the state, so DLCD is not recommending that you necessarily update your code to include these pieces, because they do sunset. So the state is recommending you apply these directly. But yes, one way to preclude that from happening is to remove residential from your downtown commercial district. And you might consider doing that for a limited amount of time. If you do ultimately want to see mixed use with first floor commercial and residential above and have more of that multi-layered, you may want to consider preserving the opportunity to do that in the future. Of course, we don't know if this sunset clause will be dropped in the future or if other changes will come and take its place, but that's another thing to consider. You could have it be a sunset clause as well.
Okay, I like that idea.
Couldn't we do it as a moratorium?
A moratorium on residential development in your C1 until
Yeah.
a certain date.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm less familiar with that because a moratorium is usually more of a legislative action and less of a code update. But yes, effectively we could do it in some way, whether it's a sunset clause written into a development code or a moratorium adopted by the city. Yeah.
so then it's the next step is, can we have it for a period of time and then change it? Because we want something to happen and then put it back on?
Y- Yeah, I mean you as a city can make your choice about what you preclude or not in your C1 zoning district, and you can change that. You can have something happen for a year or 5 years, and then you can decide you want something different, definitely.
Well, my concern is that our C1 is technically our mixed use area for residential and commercial, and so all of a sudden, if we take residential out of it, the component, that kind of defeats the whole idea of the downtown core, having people live there, so.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
one.
what if there's an in-between where it's like properties that front commercial are th that's where moratorium on residential, although that probably is where they'd want to be. But the blocks are you could do the backside of the block, you could do the side streets, maybe something like that.
Well, I'm just thinking that you can do, the backsides are different because they're up against residential, but if you do side streets and they're commercial on both sides, then they should be commercial facing. Commercial fronts and not residential.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a bit of a risk assessment here, how fast will we see residential development? And if we think that the market really supports commercial on the first floor, would allowing a first floor space to be a lobby or a gym right now, wouldn't preclude commercial use in the future. But I think what's happening is that's not what the market is supporting in a lot of places. But
Well, I guess it,
these are all like code update questions, but I understand how the state law, and that's why I put it in here, honestly, is I wanted to make sure that we were all aware that there's implications from the state level that might affect what we can actually do with our code updates. Just so that we don't feel like we can solve all the problems in the direction that we want them to be solved, knowing that there are changes coming too.
just to throw this out, just because I'm in real estate, can we do deed restrictions on the land? That would preclude residential on the first floor?
Um, I mean, you're more of an expert on deed restrictions than I am. They're pretty permanent, right? There's not, yeah. So I guess I would say that's a consideration, if you're sure that's what forever you want to have there. But I think that I think deed restrictions from a city standpoint get a little trickier than zoning code or moratoriums.
Well, I was throwing it out as different options, so.
Well, and something you're definitely familiar with and see when you're selling property or, yeah. But yes, so this is included, and I don't know if that information is helpful when if this goes on as sort of a joint like staff planning commission recommendation to city council if we need to include this level of detail, or it was really geared toward this body because I know how well you know your code and know what changes you want to make. So I just want to make sure that you had this information. And there's actually more that's just come out of the short session as far as how residential applications are reviewed and things like that. But I don't think it's overly impactful to this discussion.
So let me ask you then, with the identification of the SB 1537 and the SB 974, HB 2005 and HB 3560, is this information more of just a synopsis and not the whole infracal.
There are more, yeah, so there are more measures that we'd want to bring into the discussion when we're considering code updates. These were the most impactful that I wanted you to be aware of if they were like Commissioner Labonte read. Wow, some of these mandatory adjustments are the exact opposite of what we were trying to accomplish with some of these code changes. So it was more of an FYI to this code group. But I could provide more absolutely as we go along, you know, especially as we step into phase one, we would provide you all of the legislative context to make sure that you have it all, and then you make the decisions if there are sunset clauses. Do we want to codify? Do we want to just apply state law directly? You know, and then we just make those decisions as we go.
That's part of the code committee. I would love to see any of those earlier, sooner than later.
Sure. And my company is actually, you know, so and your city attorney probably has this information too in their legalese, but we kind of put it in our own words, distilled it down. So we can provide that resource. We have a spreadsheet with information, and in a lot of cases, DLCD is writing like a fact sheet around each of the pieces of legislation that come out once they're adopted, so that it's a little easier to understand. So we're linking that too. So I'm happy to provide that information.
Thank you.
So this is just the kind of the new program of how we're gonna approach this. And so then this is to go to city council then, what's our next step?
So if this body is happy with the overall substance of the memo, as Heather mentioned, there's a few things that we would want to tweak before we send this to city council. If the body is happy with this, yes, we would work next on getting this before city council with a definitive request for any necessary budget adjustments and work on getting this project into the actual pipeline.
Any comments of the planning commission?
I thought, I think the committee, didn't we see some stuff shuffle around a little bit too that we were concerned about?
I was thinking that we were gonna, C1 is actually in phase 2. And we were thinking it kind of went with the mixed use in phase 1. So that was kind of one of the things that we just were talking about actually, so.
Right, and I think it was in
Kind of
phase
goes
1
hand in hand.
with what's,
And it was in phase 1.
yeah.
So I think I cut the phases in a different location than the subcommittee did because of the need to phase the budget a little tighter, but I could revise and move. Were you thinking C1 moves up to phase 1 rather than phase 2? Okay, so we
Kind of together with mixed use just because of downtown stuff.
Yeah, so we could definitely do that. I would just adjust the budget numbers accordingly to add in a little more for phase 1 and a little smaller for phase 2.
I like that.
That was the
Well, it
biggest
kind of seemed
thing.
like they go together, so
Right.
it's hard to
Right.
separate them out.
There was some smaller stuff, but that was the biggest one that I think we came up with, so. Unless
Okay.
somebody else, no, that was the only note I made, so.
Heather, did you have anything else come out of our?
My notes.
No, just the length of the overall updates.
2 years?
For the length of the document.
Hopefully. No, the time, yeah.
Well, the sooner we approve it, the sooner we get on started on it.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is just to give an outline for
Yeah.
council
Yeah.
to approve some funds.
Right, yeah, and I think that's,
And
at least we should move forward with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would hope too that council would have some flexibility that should, you know, needs arise and we need to move stuff around a little bit, that the funds were approved and at our discretion, we could wiggle things if needed.
Well, and I think also to go along with that is as you start working on these, you may say, oh, we've got to do this now too, or we can move that back. So there should be some adjustment, give and take as you go in this and not be so stuck in oh, can only work on this in this phase kind of thing too.
I can write
Absolutely.
in, I can write that into this too, that, this is a rough outline of what we propose, but that there could be adjustments as we go along and do the
Yeah.
work.
And another thing that we will emphasize to city council is that as we work on this and the fact that it is a long-term project, funding opportunities may arise. We may
Sooner
be
to
able to
move
do
forward.
work concurrently with
Right.
different teams and get the project done quicker or for less budget.
Well, I think once we have kind of approved schedule, then it's easier to go out and get funding too.
Exactly.
Because they'll say, oh, you're already working on it, so we can
Exactly.
make this available sooner.
The other thing about that is sometimes there are targeted grants that would be specific to certain portions of this. So that would give that flexibility would give you the ability, like there may be something about, downtowns, and then you'd want to like go after your C1 and mixed use portion or something like that.
Well, and that may, yeah, that's one of the good reasons to be able to move stuff because some things may be in conjunction
Yep.
in that priority where funding is available. Okay. Anything else?
I would just ask you, Bill, when would you expect we could get this in front of city council? Based on their upcoming schedule.
Great question. So, I mean, we could get this in front of city council at the first April meeting. It's too late for this meeting on Monday. But we could put this before them in April. The other consideration is, depending on how much of a hurry you are, the budget committee is going to be having its mid-biennium meeting, and that's where they'll be taking up newer, bigger things. And if that'll be probably later April. So depending on how and when you want this process to work, as early as first meeting in April, but it just kind of depends on how you want it handled.
Sooner the better,
I think we need to get, as soon as better, yeah.
especially since it's a 4-year project, so.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay. We will work on getting this in front of council as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then as far as our next step, as far as workshop, do we need to have one for April then? Won't have, if we get city council approval, then between that and our meeting, you're not gonna have time to put anything together, are you? Or,
My design maybe went out to everybody.
Yeah, I'd say that staff wouldn't necessarily have something of substance for you by the April commission meeting. Just considering the dates of the
2
city
days
council
later,
meeting.
yeah, if your meeting's early in the month,
right,
their first meeting's the 6th, yours is the 8th.
yeah, that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah,
So, and right now, I mean, I'm assuming we don't have anything huge on our agenda for a regular meeting. So is there a reason to have a workshop then in April or?
No.
Take a spring break.
staff does not have anything that would require a work session in April.
So we'll just plan on our regular meeting then in April. Is there anything else for the workshop then? Hearing none? Thank you.
Good to see you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.